Happy Friday. We made it through another week, and I want to welcome you to the channel where we all can learn and grow together. If this is your first time, I want to welcome you and hope you can stick around. This is Motivation Friday, and we are going to kick this off right now. Happy Friday. We made it through another week. Woo-hoo! We can give yourself a pat on the back. It's time to enjoy our weekend. Woo-hoo-hoo-hoo! Today, I want to encourage you, whatever your success was, no matter how minor it was, I want to share congratulations in that success. If you want to tell a happy story in the comment section below, and if other people wants to read that and also congratulate each other on their successes this week, that's what this channel is about, supporting each other and encouraging each other. And Motivation Friday is definitely all about that. So if you had something good that happened to you this week, I wanna know about it, and I like hearing about it. So if you wanna type it into the comment section below, you know, it's your choice. But I would love to hear about something that happened good to you this week. It would make my day. So, this Motivation Friday, I wanna stay focused on a topic that as far as encouraging people, anybody out there wanting to find their start in whatever you want to do. Sometimes it's easy to look at things and look at professionals or look at people around the block making things or building things, or looking at people that's successful, and sometimes it's hard because we're looking at the finish line before we even took our first steps past the starting line. And I want to encourage you, if there's something that you are wanting to do, it could be, it don't even have to pertain to what we do here on the channel. But if there's something you want to get into, a craft, if there's woodworking, if you want to get into a trade, if you want to get into computer skills, I definitely won't be very good at teaching computer skills on this here. My brother can, but I'm definitely, that's something that I have to keep encouraging myself, because especially learning to do this YouTube, I'm learning a little bit more. But whatever your heart's desire is, especially if it's a positive thing, it add a positive thing to you and get you active. It all begins with a start. Learning the basics, learning a process. And once you get the basics down, whether you're even wanting to learn a musical instrument. Now, I could kind of play the guitar a little bit. It's something I'm still taking lessons on, or needing lessons. I'm self-teaching myself that. But I also play the drums. And one of the coolest things I get to take the privilege of doing is my nephew on my brother's side is starting to learn the drums. So I've been able to kind of give him his start in the drums and teaching him some basic drum rhythms. And one thing I'm trying to instill in him, as far as even learning the beginning, is you got to learn to get the beginning and the basics right first before you try and get it fast and get it, you know, and try and move on to the next level. But you'll be able to move on to the next level more successful once you learn the beginning. Now, just as an example, I'm going to use this Rubiks Cube here. Now, I'm not going to use this as a tutorial to do the Rubiks Cube. And I'm not even one of those You know, there's people, even young kids, competitions with these Rubiks Cubes. And man, they can make these things buzz and have this thing solved in like less than 5 seconds. And I am not joking. There's all kinds of them on YouTube. I'm definitely not one of them people that can solve this in 5 seconds. In fact, it takes me a little over a minute. It's about under 2 minutes. But I had to learn this by starting with the basics. And I had to get the basics right first before I can move on to greater things with it. That's the same thing with woodworking. It's the same thing with whatever you want to do, learning that musical instrument, getting involved in computers, starting a group, maybe even getting into exercise, whatever you want to do. But you're looking at the finish line like it's impossible. It's only impossible if you don't try. And it's only impossible if you're looking at the finish line like I'm never going to make it. You can make it. And if you've made it this far in life, I don't even care if you're 7 years old or how old you are. If you made it this far in life and you're still above ground, you got it in you. Whether you realize it or not, you got it in you to make it even farther. If you made it this last work week and it's Friday, whatever happened during this week, I guarantee you're going to face new challenges next week, but you got it in you to make it another week. If you survived all these storms in the past just because there's another storm coming, because you've been through these storms, you're better prepared to make it through the next storm. But sometimes it takes that start. So if I'm looking down here for a little bit while I'm talking to you and just rambling, it's because I'm going to solve this on camera. But it always starts with a process. It starts with a process of being able to start with the basics. Being able to just play with this thing and maybe even just practice getting your first layer. Maybe it's just getting out in the wood shop and learning how to just cut your boards and measure and lay out. Maybe it's just getting out in the garden and just starting to plant one plant. Maybe you can't grow a whole garden, but maybe you could just try with one tomato plant and see how that goes. And if first you don't succeed, keep trying it. And eventually you will succeed. It's kind of like somebody learning how to make biscuits. It takes making several hockey pucks, messing up several batches of biscuits until finally it just clicks and you eventually make biscuits that everybody raves about. But to get there, you gotta understand the basics and be able to just keep trying until you're successful. So I want to encourage you, whatever you want to do in life, write that goal down on a piece of paper. I had one video where I talked about having a notebook and going a few pages in the middle of the notebook, writing your goal down, and then from the start of the first page to the other page, in between all those other pages, write down everything that's going to get you there, including the stuff that might hinder you, so you could come up with a game plan to overcome them. So, as you see here in the camera, I've done solved the first layer. And sometimes that's all you might be able to do, is just solve the first layer. And sometimes you might not even be able to do that. In the process of solving the first layer, you also solve for a cross. Whatever you got to do to find your start, it could just be learning to drive nails. It could just be, if you're wanting to weld, is just get a little welder. And I tell you what, when I learned how to weld, the most frustrating thing was when you're first striking your arc with a stick welder and you're welding with 60-10 welding rod, is learn how to strike that arc without that rod wanting to stick to the metal, and then you're having to unclamp things and chisel it off of there and everything, and it takes a lot of getting that rod stuck before you eventually get it right. So you're not going to be perfect at first, and I know this world sometimes has that expectation, but sometimes when you're not getting paid in the trades and you're just learning, there needs to be that learning curve. And you need to allow yourself the expectation of trial and error and being able to get the basics down first. So get this second layer here. So sometimes you might need to just practice the first layer of whatever you're wanting to do in life. Practice that and get it right first. It don't have to be pertaining to this Rubiks Cube. I'm just using the Rubiks Cube as a metaphor. But then once you get the first layer, you can start practicing the second layer of things in life. Once you get done learning how to make biscuits, you can turn around and, of course, biscuits, you're good with butter and jelly, but sometimes you might want to learn how to make the gravy. Or sometimes once you learn how to lay out and cut your boards and stuff, and then moving on to doing the assembly of things, putting things together. Once you get done learning how to run a bunch of practice beads with welding, then you can start welding real stuff and start making build projects with welding and trying to create stuff. Maybe you're learning an instrument and at first you're just practicing guitar chords, and then the next step, the second layer, is you learn how to take those chords and put them into a song. But it takes practicing over and over and over again to get it. And I know I'm kind of beating a dead horse here because I'm also wanting to solve this in the camera for you. But some things on this Rubiks Cube, till you get it right, you got to keep doing the same moves over and over again until you get it right. Sometimes in life, it's the exact same thing. So I'm going to go ahead and finish solving this at least. Because I want to let you know, if you keep working at it and don't give up, there might be a lot of confusing steps. There might be a lot of things that you might look at as it's impossible. Like some people might look at these Rubiks Cubes and these puzzles I like to do as impossible. You might be looking at things you're wanting to do in life. Maybe you're wanting to run a marathon, but you can't run a mile. And I mentioned in my first motivational Friday, if I wanted to run a mile and I can't, if I started at my driveway and run to the next neighbor's driveway, and then the next day I'll go from my driveway to the next person's driveway to the next person's driveway, and each time I step out, I just add one more person's driveway. Eventually I'm running around the block. Eventually them blocks turn to 2 blocks. Eventually that will turn into a mile. And then eventually I just keep going and keep adding each time I go out. Eventually it ends up 2 miles, 3 miles, 4 miles. And eventually you take all those confusing steps and you just keep learning the basics. And that one little tidbit each day, eventually your puzzle will be solved. Eventually you will get there. Eventually you will have success, but it takes the process. It takes being willing to turn the puzzle. It's willing to pick up the puzzle. It's willing to pick up your saws. Willing to pick up your clamps, willing to pick up a shovel if you're wanting a garden. Whatever it is you want to do, it just takes that first step. And once you get to learning the basics, you can do some pretty cool things with it. Because I don't like leaving my puzzles like this, just normal solve on the shelf. I like patterns. So what I do with it is, if you can notice this, each side has one little dot in the middle, and then this has yellow and white. Well, this has another dot with blue and green, and then this, so this has a pattern. So eventually you can take your basics, add your own personality to what you're doing with these, and eventually once you learn this small puzzle, you can move on to another puzzle, another challenge. This here is what's called a mirror cube. It's a different type of puzzle, but as you see, when you mix it up, it just changes shapes. So then your goal is to put it back into a square like a normal puzzle, but then you don't have no colors. You got to try and match the shapes up and get it turning and play with your algorithms, but you could tackle new puzzles. This one's not solved, and it'd take me a lot longer than what we have on this video, but I also mess with a little bigger one. This is called a 3x3, this is called a 4x4, but I can solve this. You can also move on to bigger puzzles like this 5x5. So once you tackle one goal in life, you can always move on to the next, bigger and better things. I like also messing with this type of thing, which is seems difficult because it's a lot more colors, but trust me, if you ever learn to solve this, this has the exact same algorithms as this. So once you get done learning the basics in woodworking, you think some of the advanced techniques you'll never be able to accomplish, but some of the advanced techniques are just a little bit different version of the basics. So I hope this encourages you. I hope it's not too long. And I want to encourage each and every person, just like I've always been saying, find your start and reach your goals. And I hope you have a beautiful, beautiful weekend. I hope you and your family can spend time together and laugh and have fun. And just, again, as a reminder, if you've made it this far in life, you got it in you. And Wrenches and Boards believes in you. You have a good one.